This man is as punctual as anyone we've ever booked on this show. There are lots of reasons why we like talking to Steve Kerr. Punctuality, absolutely among them. The championships that he and his franchise and team keep stacking, certainly among them. The way they go about their business. It feels like it's been a really long time since we've said hello to Steve Kerr. But Steve, we're looking at the schedule. It's actually only been like 12 weeks. That is how quickly this is all gone past us here in this short, abbreviated offseason, thanks to you guys winning yet another NBA championship. Welcome back. It's wonderful to have you here. I know that you've got an event with SF Jazz coming up. I'm really interested in hearing about that and what you think of ballet. We're gonna get into a lot of things. But thank you for joining us. How are you? Great title. What have you been up to?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, great to chat with you guys again. And if a short summer is the result of being in the finals, I'll take a short summer every year. So we're happy about this. But no, it's been a great summer, celebrating the championship and getting a little time off. Our daughter got married. We traveled in Europe, and my wife and I went to Cairo, Egypt for Basketball Without Borders last week, which was amazing. And so, yeah, it's been an amazing summer, and we're ready to kind of get back at it.
I have never seen the pyramids. Is this something that I have to see with my own two eyes?
Yes, 100%. I actually lived in Cairo when I was 14, 15 years old. My dad was teaching over there at the American University. And so back then, you could actually climb the pyramids. You could literally just, walk up at, in the first thing in the morning before anybody got there and just start climbing, and nobody would say anything. I don't think you can do that anymore.
Did you take any rocks or anything?
No souvenirs. Just climbed to the top and looked at the view. It was pretty spectacular. But we went back and. So it was really fun. I mean, I hadn't been in Cairo in 38 years or something, and
is it a place, Steve, that changes much in your mind's eye, or is it the same Cairo that you remember, basically?
Well, it's the same, but it's expanded by about 3 times. So if you go to the middle of the city, everything looks the same, but the city has grown. I think it's tripled in population. It's like 25 million people now. So the city has expanded, way out into the desert on both sides of the Nile, and it was just remarkable seeing the development. How many hotels and housing developments were out there? Where when I lived there as a kid, it was literally nothing but sand. So it's changed dramatically.
What was the lure to see it again, and why now?
Well, the lure was Basketball Without Borders is just an awesome organization. The NBA runs an operation in Africa. They have offices in Senegal and Johannesburg, and every year, pandemics aside, every year they have a camp. They invite the best African players from all over the continent, and they play. And coaches and players from the league will go over and help coach and help assist the players and hang out together. And so it's really a fun way to travel, because you kind of have a built-in daily routine of coaching and teaching, but then you're going out to dinner and doing different things with all these people you already really enjoy being around. So it was the perfect opportunity to get back there.
Great to catch up with Steve Kerr here on 95.7 The Game. How proud were you giving away your daughter?
Oh man, you just can't describe it unless you've been through it. And our son got married last summer, and that was wonderful. But daughters are different, so pretty emotional. But it was wonderful and kind of perfect, and the weather was great, and everybody was so happy, and my daughter was so happy, and
well, that's great.
So it was couldn't have gone any better.
So when you said earlier that, it's a short off season, but it's great, when did you start getting the itch to get back to basketball? Or do you have it yet? Because you still have some time.
No, I think for me it's usually maybe 6 weeks or so of getting away and not thinking about anything. And it's not after the season; it's really after the draft. Once the draft is done and free agency, then you can kind of take a breath. And so for me, I would say it was kind of mid-August where I just felt like, all right, I've had a great rest and getting excited about the season, start thinking about the roster, start thinking about, things we might add or, different schemes, different things we might throw in with this group and start to get the plans in order. We've got a coaching retreat next week and we'll really nail down our plans for training camp and get rolling on the 24th.
Did the first time you called Bob Myers, once the itch came back to you, did he hang up on you?
Bob and I talk almost every day. And so the good news is, we still really like each other. So, even if we don't talk basketball, we always enjoy each other's conversation and company.
Again, conversations will be picking up. We are 40 days away from the Warriors season opener against the Lakers. At least Juan Toscano-Anderson doesn't have to wait long to pick up his ring. He'll be here with the Lakers that night. It should be one heck of an opener. We're all looking forward to it. But your journey into the season officially begins in Japan. How much do you look forward to that trip? Do you start to almost, like you got buyer's remorse before you even go? Or is being an ambassador on that level so important to some of the guys, maybe yourself included, on the team that you can't wait to get going?
No, it's something that, it's not the ideal way to go through training camp. It's not how you draw it up, but it's an incredible opportunity. And to go to Tokyo, which is such a great city, and, I was just there for the Olympics last summer, but didn't get to see anything because of COVID. So hopefully we'll be able to see more of the city this time, and it'll be an amazing experience for our players and coaches. And, any sort of, training camp disruption is far outweighed by the benefits of being in Tokyo with the team and growing the game and seeing the Japanese people cheer on Steph Curry and the team. I mean, it'll be a thrill.
Since the beginning to our conversation has such an international twist to it, Steve, I must ask, with all the rooms, with all the kings and queens and presidents that you may have supped with, have you ever met the Queen who passed away today at the age of 96?
Never met the Queen, no. That was reading that today was kind of strange. She's just been a constant in all of our lives because she's lived for so long and just been so prevalent in the news forever. And so sad news, but what a life.
Royalty is one of the weirdest concepts ever sold to human beings. It really, truly is. But
did you ever watch the Crown, by the way?
Oh, yes, I did. On your recommendation. Jillian and I both loved it. And to the point where, the seasons that change, where they change the Queen as she ages, they're fantastic how well they did that.
Pretty remarkable show. Yeah, my wife and I love that show. Really a pretty good history lesson.
It is good.
Can I ask a mundane basketball question?
I guess. I mean, the season doesn't start, for a few weeks, Ray. So
okay, all right, then fine. Who'd you like better, Claire Foy or Olivia Colman?
It's a tie. It's
No. Then we go to overtime. Somebody wins this.
I love Olivia Colman. I think she's fantastic. So I got to go with her. But Claire Foy was brilliant too.
Okay, now the mundane basketball question.
All right, here we go.
Do you have to do anything in the preseason to monitor your veterans' minutes? Or are you going to, is that just natural that you're not going to play much because you don't need to?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a balance. I think we only have 5 preseason games now, and so the guys need to, be in rhythm and be able to play, 30 minutes or so by opening night. But you also don't want to run them into the ground. So, we have the big picture in mind for our season, and we'll see where everybody is in terms of their conditioning and any maladies, any injuries or anything like that. But we've got an entire performance team that really kind of determines the level that we push these guys. So my job has gotten a lot easier the last few years as we've gotten smarter and we've brought in brilliant people who do this for a living.
It felt like last year's collective motivation was to prove to the entire basketball world that when healthy, you guys still wore the crown. And indeed, that's what you went out and you actually proved. So now what? I mean, how hard is it to maintain a motivation where the motivation is, gentlemen, it's our responsibility to maintain a near consistent state of greatness at all times with guys whose career legacies get redefined by possessions, which is nuts, but that's the way it all works these days. It's just maintaining greatness a motivation.
Yeah, I don't remember if I've told you guys this before. I may have, but my experience is that the trying to repeat is actually really fun. It's when if you're lucky enough to win 2 in a row, that third year is where it gets to be a real grind. So we're coming off last season. We won the championship 2 years straight without even being in the playoffs, a long 9-month layoff with COVID. I don't think we're going to be burned out by any means. In fact, I think we'll be really excited. I think all of our guys will be ready to roll and ramp it back up and try to repeat. Our guys love to play. They love to compete. This is what they do. They've had a good rest this summer. So I think everybody is excited and they don't have a ton to prove, if anything, but that's also a really good place to be, when you're playing with a little house money and, for our vets, Steph, Klay, Draymond, maybe Andre, depending on what he decides to do. Those guys have 4 rings. They've got nothing to prove, so they can go out and just let it rip and play for the joy of the game, and their natural competitiveness will take over. And I'm expecting for us to have a great season.
All right, Steve, so are we, and you said it first. You brought it up. I didn't bring it up. You brought it up. Andre Iguodala, the vision that you would have for him should he be a part of this year's team is what?
Well, he's still good enough to help us win games, and he proved that last year. And he also proved to be an irreplaceable leader in that locker room. He, even though he gets credit for it, it's not enough. When we talk about Andre's leadership, what he meant to Wiggs and Gary Payton and Jordan Poole, Draymond, Steph, Klay. I mean, Andre was so instrumental in just keeping us on the path to a championship last year. So if he decides to come back, he's going to have the exact same role. There's going to be times during the season where he'll be healthy and in the rotation and helping us win games, and there'll be times where he's not playing and either injured or resting but still patrolling that locker room and making sure our guys are learning how to win, how to be champions.
Is there a timeline on that decision? Because you might have roster decisions to make if Andre doesn't come back. As a matter of fact, you will. Is there a timeline that you and Bob would like to see met?
No, Bob and I talked to Andre early in the summer, and we just said, you have earned the right to do whatever you want and to take as much time as you want. And I probably talked to Andre about a month ago and reiterated that. I have not talked to him since. I just got back in the country, and I'll probably touch base with him here in the next couple of days. But Bob and I are giving him the space to make whatever decision he wants, and we'll support him either way. But we hope he comes back. I can tell you that.
I want to go back to something you said about how much fun it's going to be to defend the title. And then you said how hard it is to do it a third time. And I'm not trying to look ahead by a season, but since you've gone through this before, what is it that makes trying to win a third one in a row so incredibly difficult and so taxing, and trying to win a second one in a row so invigorating?
I just think that by the third year, everything catches up to you. The physical toll, the emotional toll, the spiritual toll. It's just hard. I mean, you got teams coming after you every single night. Great teams, great athletes, great coaches, plotting, scheming, and it is exhausting to be, on that mountaintop and having people trying to knock you off every single day. So, year two, in my experience, is there's a lot of confidence, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of energy, and then year three, you're like a marathon runner, and in the last couple miles, you're just trying to get to the finish line, and it's tough to win that way.
Head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, knows quite a bit about winning. They continue to do it. And I'll tell you, all the moving pieces and the parts and how they fit together this year is going to be fascinating. Jordan Poole, year 4. How much more of a step forward can he take? And what did you think of the year that he pretty much gave you guys last year?
Oh, man, Jordan was amazing. Had such a great year. I don't know that he can do anything more to step up offensively. So the area where he can still improve is at the defensive end. I thought last year in the playoffs, when he was fully engaged and really playing with physicality, he showed he can be a legit two-way player. But he knows he hasn't become that consistently, and so that's the next step for Jordan. But what he has given us offensively, that spark, that playmaking, the shooting, the passing, he is a really talented young guy, and a huge part of why we won the championship last year.
And toward that end, I mean, because the discussions about where you're going to be on the tax line and all that, are those discussions you want to be in on, or does it put you in a weird sort of compromised position where you'd rather know as little as possible when they start explaining how they're going to try to cut costs to get back in line with Joe Lacob's comfort zone?
No, Bob and I are always aligned, and he's so good at his job. He shares, all the information, every decision he makes, he's sharing his reasoning and ideas with me, and then I do the same for him in terms of the basketball on-court decisions that I make. So we're in concert all the time. We have the highest payroll in the history of the NBA. Joe has gone above and beyond for many years now, so we're lucky. We've got just a really, really great roster, and it gets harder and harder every year to keep this group together. But Bob and Joe have been able to do so, and so we'll keep rolling, and I'll do my part, but we're all aligned on everything in this organization.
How excited are you for a full season of Klay Thompson once again?
I'm thrilled. We texted the other day, and he is just having such a great summer. He's in such a wonderful place. Now that he's back and he's healthy, and his brother Trace is hitting home runs for the Dodgers, and Klay is on cloud nine right now. So he can't wait for camp to start, and I think I would expect him to be more consistent this year, just having that conditioning base underneath him and the consistency of good health and being able to train all summer.
Speaking of big follow-up year Andrew Wiggins did so much to reestablish himself in the NBA Finals as an elite player. It feels like the entire NBA finally caught on to how good he has been with the Golden State Warriors and how good he was. He took his rebounding game to another level. How much of your job this season is just holding him to that higher standard that he established in the NBA Finals and seemed incredibly proud to have found?
Yeah, I mean, Wiggs was so good and played such an important role. And I think what you saw last year was the culmination of, 2.5 years being with this organization, Klay being back, our team taking shape, and Wiggs really settling into the role that he's perfectly suited for, which is, lockdown defender and, be our secondary scorer. And he couldn't have played that role any better, in the finals especially, but really throughout the playoffs, the way he rebounded, the way he guarded the opponent's best players, he was just awesome. And, for me as a coach, Wiggs is just a joy to be around every day, to coach, to see his engagement, to see the way his teammates revere him. It's just been a perfect marriage, and we're thrilled with him, and I know he's happy to be here. So excited to coach Wiggs again.
I want to give you plenty of time to promote what you've got going on with SF Jazz and tell people where they can get tickets if they want to come and see your first in-person interview since winning an NBA championship. I know you're going to be doing that, but before we get to the plug, I got to ask, James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, your young pups, how much forward are you looking to get them back under your umbrella and to see their off-season improvement with, three guys who went through very unique experiences last year that should stack on top of what makes them a better basketball player? Like, here we go. It feels like Wiseman is healthy enough to where this is a monster year in this young man's career.
Yeah, we're excited for all three of them. They've all been doing individual training in our facility this summer. Wise is healthy, doing great. That's the main thing. That he's just feels good and looks good, and he just like J.K. and Moses. They all need to play. They're all so young. They just need to play, and so the more experience they can gain, the better. But health is the number one priority, and knock on wood, all three guys are doing really well, and I can't wait to see them in training camp. So,
Steve, you probably would safely assume that we don't have a huge ballet crowd in our audience. I don't know much about ballet. I don't know really anything other than you have to be in unbelievable peak physical condition to go out and do that. Tell us about Alonzo King, why you're going to be having a conversation a week from tomorrow with him, Friday, September 16th, at SF Jazz.
Yeah, Alonzo runs Lines Ballet. He's a really, really talented artistic director, and we're going to have a conversation that will touch on dance and basketball and social justice and human rights and all kinds of topics, mindfulness, self-care. I think there are a lot of, and I'm not a ballet aficionado by any means, but there are so many parallels because you're talking about athletes, you're talking about people who, whether it's someone in dance or someone in basketball, you've got to find a way to connect your mind and your body and to create something really beautiful. And so I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a really fun event, and it's a great fundraiser, and that's going to help fund Alonzo's ballet programs and educational programs, and that's coming up on September 16th. So really excited about that. It's at the Minor Auditorium, San Francisco Jazz.
And people can check out tickets, availability at sfjazz.org. Somebody once said, if you don't think these, ballet art, ballerina, what do you call it? What do you call a male ballet dancer?
Dancer.
Is he dancer? He's not a ballerina or something.
No.
Okay. Somebody once said, if you want to know what real strength is, try to pick someone up, not bending your arms, just straight out in front of you, and then dance with that person in your arms, straightly extended.
Yeah.
That is how strong you have to be. It's one of the all-time, like the ant is it was like the strongest creature on earth in terms of being able to lift its body weight, the ratio there. And so ballet has to involve itself somehow like that. Will you be pirouetting at any point in time during the presentation?
No chance. No chance. But I'm going to make sure that Alonzo actually does pirouette himself.
Okay.
And maybe teach me behind the scenes, but I will not be demonstrating any of that.
Will you just blame your back for that, or are you just going to say, I don't want to?
Yeah, no, I've got the built-in excuse, of the back. That's the lone bright spot of having, some back issues. You can always use it.
But just think if you could go home that night and have a perfect plie right before dinner time.
Margot would be thrilled.
She would be thrilled with you. By the way, someone says it's a ballerino. A male ballerina is a ballerino. I don't know if I trust the text line, but I want to. It feels right.
I wouldn't trust them with anything, including an opened can.
We know that. Steve, it was a real pleasure to catch up with you. Again, people on the text line saying it's just so good to hear your voice again. We have a listener actually from Cairo saying it's just so cool to hear you talk about his hometown. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back. We look forward to our conversations once they start up again, and we look forward to another season of Warriors basketball. They tend to err on the side of absolutely glorious. So we're looking forward to it once again, Steve. Thank you.
I am too, and great to visit with you guys again. And before we know it, it'll be a once a week thing. And who knows? We might even get tired of one another, but hopefully not.
Oh, that's not the way you should bet.
Steve, thank you so very, very much. We could never get tired of you. One of the best, one of the most generous with his time, thoughtful with his answers, guests we've ever had. We look forward to our conversations with Steve Kerr whenever we get them. And if you want to see Steve Kerr's conversation at SF Jazz one more time, go to sfjazz.org for all event details.